Hello, my name is Joseph Mull, and today I will be presenting my Communication Capstone project, which is a case study on Let's Players and parasocial relationships. The topic for this case study is to explore how and why parasocial relationships form between Let's Players and their fans. The concept of parasocial relationships was first identified in 1956 by Horton and Roll, and are described as symbolic, one-sided connections imagined with media figures and celebrities. This phenomenon has been observed in numerous media forms, but is perhaps most prevalent when applied to the current digital environment, where there are millions of independent content creators for people to watch. YouTubers are a brand of internet content creator that create content for all ages, but most prominently teenagers. In particular, a type of YouTuber, Let's Players, cater their content primarily to young people with an overt focus on personality and affect between their audience and themselves. This dynamic has the potential to facilitate the formation of parasocial relationships, and so this project will be focused on learning more about this phenomenon and how it develops within this environment. In order to explore this topic, this project will utilize an explanatory approach in its analysis of a specific communication artifact that is directly related to the subject of Let's Players and their audience. The purpose of this case study is to analyze and evaluate an example of parasocial relationships between a Let's Player and their fans, to explore the methods through which Let's Players create an environment that fosters parasocial relationships, and possible reasons why fans would be receptive to them. In order to accomplish this purpose, the case study will seek to answer two research questions. How do gaming YouTubers facilitate the creation of parasocial relationships through their audience engagement? And how do fans utilize these relationships to fulfill identification needs? The artifact that will be analyzed for this case study will be a collection of text messages archived by the Twitter account @DreamTextUpdate, a fan account created in order to collect text messages from an event that happened in April of 2021, in which popular Let's Player Dream publicly released his phone number for his fans to contact him. The account was active from April 13th until its last tweet on November 26th of 2021. According to public analytics from follower.me.com, the account has a total of 306 tweets. The first observation in the analysis was that self-disclosure was a consistent aspect of the text messages between Dream and his fans, which contributed to the strengthening fans' perceived relationship. Self-disclosure is defined as when someone reveals personal information about themselves to another, in varying degrees of privacy, depth, and appropriateness. It is also frequently used to develop interpersonal relationships. In the present case, Dream revealing his phone number and opening himself up to direct communication with any of his fans demonstrated an act of mediated self-disclosure on his part, as the thought of a famous Let's Player casually revealing their phone number positively impacted perceptions of his authenticity, essentially inviting a relationship with anyone who would contact him. Fans responded to this invitation with various degrees of self-disclosure, with many going beyond pleasantries to deeper subjects. Interestingly, many of the things shared were beyond what would be considered appropriate for someone they had just met. The topics of self-disclosure included sharing updates on sleep and work, anxieties with various subjects, relationship issues, and a good number of innocuous comments one would randomly share with a friend. The second observation was how the dimensional composition of the engagement favored the development of parasocial relationships with Dream. Compared to parasocial relationships with traditional celebrities, the attraction with Let's Players and other YouTubers lie more in the interactive responsiveness that is possible with the platforms, rather than idolizing a larger-than-life character. The content of these text messages demonstrate a clear enthusiasm and attraction from the concept of being able to communicate with Dream in this more personal mode of communication. This is further corroborated by the responses after Dream provided a response, which were typically followed with expressions of jubilance and excitement at reciprocal interaction. It is also worth noting that the use of text messages to engage with fans was an intentional marketing strategy by Dream from the beginning, which could point to an awareness of how utilizing a more personal mode of communication can influence continued viewing behavior. Finally, fans' messages with Dream frequently utilize language that points to a desire for a sense of social identity as a Dream fan and part of the culture. Viewer identification has been demonstrated to have a positive impact with continuous watching intention, and can be mediated by such factors as continued watching and participation. Identification can also be utilized to provide insight into possible motivations behind the formation of parasocial relationships. In the case of the present artifact, interacting with Dream on social media can be taken as a form of participation in the fan culture, further supported by the frequent use of inside jokes and references to activities Dream has done in his videos within the text. Additionally, by the content of some of these text messages, it can be inferred that many of these fans have been watching Dream for an extended period of time. With these observations, we can begin to answer the research questions posed in the beginning. In regards to the first question, how do gaming YouTubers facilitate the creation of parasocial relationships through their audience engagement? It is clear that parasocial relationships are a joint effort between creator and fan. However, creators facilitate their creation by creating opportunities that encourage fans to communicate with them in a way that mimics real relationships, such as through comments, social media, or in this case, text messages. This is most likely done for professional and self-promotional purposes, as there is a benefit of increased watch time for those fans who feel they are close to the creator. Encouraging these connections also involves encouraging self-disclosing behavior. For the second research question regarding identity, the communication presented by fans points to a motivated use of parasocial relationships to fulfill companionship needs through a uses and gratifications framework. Companionship is one of the primary needs audiences are thought to fulfill through their use of media, and parasocial relationships serve this function of satisfying that need. This would account for a desire to grow closer with a digital celebrity, as well as language that signaled personal identification with Dream and the fandom. In lieu of this research, 3 groups would benefit from its findings: parents, teachers, and child care providers. Of these, parents especially should be aware of the alarming level of self-disclosure that children and teens perform with who are effectively strangers. Future work should look deeper into the negative impact of using these sorts of asymmetrical, impersonal connections to satisfy companionship needs. In conclusion, parasocial relationships between Let's Players and fans are developed through open communication channels where fans feel they can develop relationships with them. Fan motivation for these relationships lie in a desire for shared intimacy and identification with a perceived trusted content creator, signaled through a disproportionate sharing of self-disclosed information. In contrast, Let's Player motivation for these relationships are for the purposes of greater engagement and promotion through fan interaction. This is the end of my presentation. I have included references to the information used to create this project. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.